Peace, family. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. There's a situation in Florida that I want to discuss. This is according to the Miami Herald. The police chief down there wanted perfect stats, so cops were told to pin crimes on black people. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article, and this is from the Miami Herald, like I said, so here we go. The indictment was damning enough. A former police chief of Biscayne Park and 2 officers charged with falsely pinning 4 burglaries on a teenager just to impress village leaders with a perfect crime-solving record. But the accusations revealed in federal court last month left out far uglier details of past policy practices. In Tranquil Biscayne Park, a leafy wedge of suburbia just north of Miami shores. Records obtained by the Miami Herald suggest that during the tenure of former Chief Ramando Estanano, the command staff pressured some officers into targeting random black people to clear cases. If they have been burglaries that are open cases that are not solved yet, if you see anybody black walking through our streets and they have somewhat of a record, arrest them so we can pin them all the burglaries. One cop, and Anthony De La Torre, says in an Interpol probe order in 2014. They were basically doing this to have a 100% clearance rate for the city. In a report from the probe, 4 officers, a third of a small force, told an outside investigator they were under marching orders to file the bogus charge to improve the department's crime stats. Only De La Torre specifically mentioned targeting blacks, but former Biscayne Park village manager Heidi Sheffrin, who ordered the investigation after receiving a string of letters from disgruntled officers, said the message seemed clear for cops on the street. The letter says, quote, "Police were doing a lot of bad things," Sheffrin told the Herald. It says police officers were directed to pick up people of color and blame the crime on them. Beyond the apparent race targeting, the report never reviewed in village commission meetings describe a department run like a dysfunctional frat house. It's outlined allegations that brass openly drank on duty, engaged in a host of financial shenanigans, and that the number 2 in command during the period, Captain Lawrence Churchman, routinely sprouted racist and sexist insults. Amid the probe, Estaniano abruptly resigned in 2014. Afterward, that was a stark change in village crime-busting statistics. During his roughly 2-year tenure as chief, 29 of 30 burglary cases were solved, including all 19 in 2013. In 2015, a year after he left, records show village cops did not clear a single one of 19 burglary cases. Village leaders said they have since overhauled the department, calling the ousted police chief's actions appalling. Estaniano, 52, has strongly denied allegations. He pleaded not guilty in a federal case and now is awaiting trial on charges of civil rights violations. 2 of his former officers, Raul Fernandez and Charlie Dable, also have pleaded not guilty and are awaiting trial. Sources say they are cooperating against their one-time boss. The federal case doesn't raise allegations of racial profiling, but records show the false charges were filed against a black Asian American teen identified only as TD in the indictment. Whether or how many other blacks might have been targeted is unclear. State and local arrest records differ somewhat, but of the 30 burglary arrests documented in 2013 and 2014, nearly all were of black males. But at least one other case is under review in an ongoing investigation. The arrest of a black transit man, Eramis Bauman, 35, who was charged with 5 vehicle burglaries on the same day on February 2014. Each were dropped immediately by prosecutors when Biscayne Park cops failed to cooperate, records show. Continue on. Commanders dispute allegations. Both Estaniano and Churchman, who was not named in the indictment, denied pressuring officers to make unwanted arrests or to target blacks. In 2014, they disputed the officers' allegations to Village's outside investigator, and they repeated their defense to the Herald. The former chief argues he demanded diligence from his officers, not illegal actions. His attorney pointed blame at Estaniano, former underlinings, for any resulting problematic arrests, encouraging or even demanding that public employees raise that performance levels is meet the citizens' expectations is not an invitation for those public employees to cut corners or falsify documents. In his defense attorney, Richard Dacobu, told the Herald. Ana Garcia, who served as village manager when Estaniano was first elevated to chief in January 2013, said the federal charges of framing a teen conflicted with the chief's reputation in the village. She left the role, but Chevron took over while Estaniano quietly stepped down in April 2014. Everyone thought highly of him, Garcia said. This comes as a total shock, not only to me, but everyone in the community. Biscayne Park's little police department has been on the radar of state and federal prosecutors for years. With a population of just over 3,000 residents and less than 1 square mile in size, the little village has produced an outsized share of scandals, mostly surrounding its cops. The department of about a dozen sworn officers, one housed in a historic log cabin but now based at a village hall, was long infamous for ticketing speeders. But over the last decade, the department has also seen an officer's arrest on charges of holding his wife hostage, a troubled officer sued for excessive force, and another officer charged with beating a suspect. At the helm was Estaniano, and burly and mustachio officer who was hired in 2008 and worked his way through the ranks while penning a column in the village newsletter, warning residents to beware of trespassers, report people crossing the railroad track, and staying off lawns. Estaniano had come to village after an earlier case involved a doctor arrest record in 2006. Estaniano, then a sergeant in Sunny Isles Beach, agreed to leave there after investigators discovered he forged a man's name on a notice to appear in court. After police arrested him for marijuana, prosecutors told him to resign or face arrest. Estaniano left but landed with Biscayne Park 2 years later and rebuilt his reputation. The village named him Officer of the Year in 2011. 2 years later, he was promoted to replace the retired chief, and he immediately began touting impressive progress in solving home break-ins and property crimes, always a priority issue in otherwise quiet suburbs. This year, as we stand, we have a 100% clearance rate on burglary cases in the village of Biscayne Park. Estaniano declared to hearty applause during the commission meeting in July of 2013, which is the first time I've ever known how to happen in any department that I ever been in. So, I'm going to stop right there. As you can see that, you got corrupt cops in this department. And basically, so they framing black people for getting credit for it, and then for accusing black people of burglarizing the neighborhood, which you have no physical evidence, but here it is. But there's more to the story. So here we go. Behind the scenes, records show the department was in turmoil. That became clear over the following year as former village manager Chevron began receiving what will wind up being 10 separate letters, some signed and some not, laying out an array of problems, topped by the potentially explosive allegation of targeting blacks for unwarranted arrests. It was April 2014, a few months before national protests erupt over the treatment of black men by police, when a white officer shot and killed Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. About a quarter of Biscayne Park's population is black. Chevron immediately hired a private investigator to investigate the claims. As the probe unfolded, the village suspended churchman and Corporal Nicholas Waschlager, also Waschlager, department's third in command. She also fired off a letter of Estaniolo's ordering him to cooperate fully with investigators, and he resigned 5 days later. And this is the picture of former Biscayne Park Captain Lawrence Churchman, as you can see right here. Continue on. One allegation was made public at the time that a police officer named Thomas Harrison had loaned Estaciano $2,000, and the chief agreed to repay him in an off-duty and overtime shifts. An ethics investigation found no evidence that loan existed other than Harrison's word. That was benign in comparison to other allegations that officer raised with Jesse Scott, the private investigator hired to handle the internal probe. Many of the officers complained focused on Churchman, a former Sweetwater cop who was second in command in the village. Like his boss, Churchman also had a history with Alter Records. Sweetwater had demoted him for allegations of falsified education records to earn an extra $40 a week. Biscayne Park hired him in 2008. In a report, 7 fellow officers described the captain of Estacion enforcer belittling cops, threatening them with firing and bullying them into paying cash fees for working off-duty security gigs and into paying insurance deductibles with cash when they got into an accident in their police cruisers. His disdain for minorities also was common knowledge. Officer Harrison told the investigator. The report quotes officers saying Churchman used racial, homophobic, and gender slurs. The captain has said on several different occasions he doesn't want any N-words and F-words or women bees working at the Biscayne Park, Harrison says, according to Scott's investigating report. Now, this officer that I was talking about is going to respond to this. Churchman, through his attorney, denied any such language. In response to questions from the Herald, Lori Christie Kesselbaum issued a statement quoting her client, "That is a ridiculous lie. That's just not the way I think, and certainly not the kind of language I use in public or in private." In all, 4 officers interviewed by Scott said the command staff told them to frame people, but only De La Torre specifically said they were ordered to target blacks. In a statement, Officer Omar Martinez said that after a string of vehicles break-ins, the command staff told him that there was only one way to attain a 100% clearance rate on property crimes. Martinez was told if he saw anyone walking in the village at night and if they had any type of pass at all, to arrest them and somehow try to charge them with the burglaries, even if they weren't the ones who committed it. Martinez singled out Waschlager as the commander who gave the orders, but said the officers said he refused to carry them out because it was illegal and unethical. "I will not arrest any innocent person in order to make the department look good." This week, Waschlager told the Herald that he was absolutely not involved in giving such orders and wasn't aware that the other commanders, Estaciano and Churchman, issued them either. "It caught me by surprise, especially having my name mentioned," he said. Waschlager, who met with the FBI agent several times as the investigation gained momentum this year, said he was told that Martinez recanted his accusation against him under questioning. Reached by phone, Martinez refused to comment. Waschlager, who is still a commander at a village, and Martinez are among only a few officers still left on Biscayne Park force from Estaciano's tenure. Churchman left in July 2014 when the Internal Affairs report was completed. In a statement through his lawyer, he said that the police chief and Detective Burrow handled the burglary cases and crime statistics, not him. "It is ridiculous to believe that I will encourage sworn officers to falsify crime reports and to pin crimes on innocent people when clearing crimes was not my responsibility," Churchman said in a statement. So it's like more stuff going on. I'm gonna stop right there. In other words, they trying to basically what the story is about, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have cops from Biscayne Park, which is a suburban part of Miami, basically corrupt cops. As you can see, that they were trying to frame black people from making their department look good by saying that these black people rob or burglarize some houses, that's really not true. And of course, the accusation is revealed in federal court. So basically, these officers, or former officers in this case, is in serious trouble. And obviously they're trying to clean it up, try to blame one or the other for the falsifying of black people who were accused of burglary, which they don't have no evidence, no proof, no nothing that is true. So tell me what you think about this story. Share this article, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my reaction channel, and subscribe to my Black Junction channel for any more news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.